Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SEScoops YouTube channel. My name is Jaychele, and I'm so excited because today I will be talking to you about all of the crazy stuff happening within the world of wrestling. As you guys know, WWE is shaking up the industry with all their returns and NXT call ups, and AEW obviously has a bunch of returns happening right now as people are coming back from injury. So let's talk about it because right now we're really setting the stage for a big season of wrestling ahead. Finally, it seems like WWE and AEW are both about to start running their shows at their fullest ability, putting both their creative talents and wrestlers in ring talents to the test. As WWE enters a new era full of call ups and returns, and some of AEW's biggest stars are nearing a return, it seems like we could be entering a legendary period for wrestling. Now is the best time for lapsed fans to jump back in because there are so many surprises and great moments just around the corner. Let's take a look at what's currently shaking up the landscape across both WWE and AEW. Let's start off with Hit Row. The SmackDown Tag Team division has received a major boost with the addition of Hit Row. Even without Swerve, B-Fab, Top Dollar, and Ashanti the Adonis stand to be an enthralling act on the Blue brand. WWE as a whole could use more tag teams, and on the independent scene, the Hitmakers were able to showcase their worth. A group like Hit Row was truly meant for the main stage with all the glitz and glamour of WWE working to raise their star power. Top Dollar, B-Fab, and Ashanti finally get to show fans who they truly can be in WWE and how they could reach their full potential without fans feeling like people are playing second fiddle to Swerve. Hit Row has always proven that they can make for entertaining TV, and the WWE Tag Team division currently needs that. The return of Hit Row allows for so many fresh tag team feuds that could come with amazing segments, promos, and even possibly rap battles. Matches that we could possibly see are Hit Row versus the Street Profits, Hit Row versus the New Day, Hit Row versus the Usos, Hit Row versus Arcade Bro, and Hit Row versus the Alpha Academy. Next, let's talk about Killer Cross and Scarlett. The return of Killer Cross and Scarlett on last week's SmackDown has sent ripples throughout the locker room and the heart of Roman Reigns. Killer Cross's return brings a new heel and intrigue over to SmackDown. Cross will now be the biggest heel on all of WWE programming, right behind Roman Reigns and the Bloodline as a whole. This return allows for new heel stars to be built in the division. Instead of mainly focusing on Reigns and the Bloodline, Cross can bring a breath of fresh air when it comes to heel stars. Triple H being the new head of creative has clearly marked the beginning of a new era in WWE. With Cross being back, this marks that new era and also shows Triple H's commitment to the black and gold NXT that we know and love. Triple H isn't afraid to make things right with talent released under past management. He's willing to bring back talent, give them a spot to shine, and fix what went wrong the first time. Killer Cross finally has a chance to redeem himself and to make the WWE Universe fall and pray. Next, let's talk about Dakota Kai and Io Sky. The additions of Dakota Kai and Io Sky to the main roster have pumped life into the division. On one night at SummerSlam, WWE was able to make a statement about the effort and care that they're going to put into the women's division in this new era. The faction, Control, that features Dakota, Sky, and Bayley, has proven that WWE's women's division is headed in the right direction. As one may see, WWE can currently capitalize on AEW's weakest point, which is its women's division. The increase in quality under Triple H is fantastic to see. Finally, the women's tag team scene has been made interesting again through the storytelling device of factions. The women's division appears to be in great hands as there are so many fresh matchups available over on Raw, like Asuka versus Io Sky, Alexa Bliss versus Dakota Kai, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair versus Dakota Kai, and Alexa Bliss versus Io Sky. Next, let's talk about Dexter Loomis. Dexter Loomis made a mysterious return on the most recent episode of Monday Night Raw. At the end of the main event between AJ Styles and The Miz, Loomis was seen wearing a hoodie, staring down at AJ Styles while being escorted out of the arena by the police. Loomis's return brought WWE great views and headlines. With this return getting nearly 2 million views on YouTube, Loomis is clearly a needle mover for the WWE. This fun addition to the roster allows creative to come up with new ideas for his spooky and mysterious lore. Loomis is a character that has a spooky factor, but can also be used for unique spots, such as Crashing Raw. Loomis is a very easy horror movie-like character to write and fill in plot holes that comes with great merch selling potential. During his time away from WWE, Loomis performed in the NWA under the name Samuel Shaw. He maintained his gimmick and still limited the number of words he said. The only challenge a WWE creative may face is the fact that he doesn't speak much, if at all. Obviously, this can be worked around like we saw in NXT, but it will still pose a good and healthy challenge for creative. Some ways creative can work around Loomis is by utilizing his relationships with Indy Hartwell, Johnny Gargano, Theory, and Candice LeRae if necessary. Loomis seems to have the fans' attention with the spooky return, but the rest will be up to WWE to keep capitalizing on him and his return. Next, let's talk about some of the top free agents and the reported draft that may be coming soon in WWE. Many outlets have begun to report that there are still many returns coming. With top free agents like Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, and Bray Wyatt still not signed to contracts, many believe that they may end up in WWE. Fans have been speculating for weeks that the Gargano family will pop up on either Raw or SmackDown. As much of this is just speculation, Johnny Gargano has recently added gasoline to the fire by saying that he and Candice are going to show up somewhere eventually and that they both encourage fans to keep watching. One of the most interesting names in the free agent pool has been Bray Wyatt. As his release came to a shock to many, Bray Wyatt has remained in the conversation when it comes to possible returns. Bray was always a top merch seller in WWE, but he has not capitalized on his success much outside of the company. In his time away, Wyatt has only participated in one wrestling event, which was WrestleCon during this year's WrestleMania weekend. With the being reported that the draft could be coming soon, shortly after Clash of the Castle, we may see some of these free agents and possibly NXT stars pop up on the main roster sooner than we think. Next, let's talk about some of the big shakeups happening within AEW. First, let's talk about Adam Cole, baby. Adam Cole is finally back on screen. While injured, Cole was able to orchestrate one of the biggest face turns in AEW history. Even though Cole is not yet cleared to wrestle, outlets are making it seem like we are nearing his return. Since his debut, Cole has been positioned as one of the biggest names in AEW. Cole would have benefited immensely from the injuries of Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk if he didn't get injured himself. It's more than likely that Cole would have been the number one heel in the company. However, with his return date possibly getting closer and closer, the timing of the breakup of the Undisputed Elite is incredibly interesting. The Trios tournament is set to begin this week, and we still don't know who the Young Bucks are planning to team with. However, we do know that by default, they will end up having problems with Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Next, let's talk about CM Punk. CM Punk's big return to Dynamite this week has brought life back to the top of the AEW card. Punk, being an obvious fan favorite and coming back from his injury, has created a buzz around AEW, with his return hitting 2 million views on YouTube. With Punk's return, we can look forward to great promo segments coming in the next few weeks and, of course, his face-off with Jon Moxley. This match between Punk and Moxley would be one of the biggest matches in AEW, if not the biggest. This match is also going to be the main event at All Out and will be sure to bring fans to the doors. We can expect a bloodbath at All Out once Punk and Moxley step foot into the ring. This will most likely become a lifelong blood feud between the two. Another wrestler to keep in mind is Eddie Kingston. With Kingston being Moxley's right-hand man and having a feud with Punk from last year, we can expect to see Kingston have a hand in this feud. Punk's return to AEW has been one of the biggest returns in AEW history, making way for one of the biggest main events in all of AEW history and some other major matchups along the way, which could possibly be FTR versus the Blackpool Combat Club, CM Punk versus Bryan Danielson, CM Punk versus Wheeler Yuta, CM Punk versus Claudio Castagnoli, and Eddie Kingston versus Dax Harwood. Next up, we'll be talking about Bryan Danielson. The return of Bryan Danielson has already proven to be a major boost to the AEW men's division. He has already put over Daniel Garcia in his return match, but Danielson has always been committed to investing in the new generation, so this is no surprise. Younger talent being able to work and train with Danielson is one of the best gifts that AEW could give to up-and-coming talent. Danielson not only has an eye for talent and potential, but he is still functioning at the highest level and is being labeled as the best professional wrestler in the world by many. His debut almost a year ago at All Out changed the landscape of professional wrestling. His return could not have come at a better time as he is approaching 1 year in AEW. Moving forward, Danielson may not hold the top title in AEW, but he is sure to continue a career-defining run of matches, like Bryan Danielson versus CM Punk, Bryan Danielson versus Dax Harwood, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley versus FTR, Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, and possibly Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara. Last but not least, let's talk about Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega has been the longest awaited return in AEW history. Omega has not stepped foot in the ring since he lost the belt to Hangman Page at Full Gear 2021. Many outlets have reported that Omega is nearing his return date. However, we have yet to see him step back in the ring. With Tony Khan announcing the Trios titles tournament, this strongly hints at Omega's return. The Trios battling for the belts in the tournament are Death Triangle, Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, Andrade, Rush and Dragon Lee, House of Black, The Dark Order, Trustbusters, Best Friends, and lastly, the Young Bucks, who have failed to find a replacement for Omega. The Young Bucks turned to Hangman Page and offered him a spot in their trio, only to be rejected, to the surprise of many. Omega's return would also bring the feud between himself and Adam Cole back to the center once he makes his return and Cole is cleared to wrestle. Omega also has a long history with the Elite and the Undisputed Elite, which would be the first storyline once Omega makes his big return. Omega would make a splash in the AEW World Trios Championship Tournament alongside the Young Bucks. However, we will continue to watch the Young Bucks scramble to find their third member. Thanks for watching. I've been Jaychele Nicole. You can follow me on Twitter at Jaychele Nicole. Make sure to read this article over on SEScoops as well if you'd like to see it in written form. Make sure to go to SEScoops.com for all of our news articles and editorials along with some results. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, like this video, leave a comment, and hit the bell. Thank you. Bye, guys.